What if I told you there was once a planet between the Sun and Mercury? Astronomers actually had over 200 clues that made them think it existed. But if it was real, where did it go? What happened to this mystery planet called Vulcan? Let's find out. To understand the story of Vulcan, we first need to know how another planet, Neptune, was discovered. William Herschel actually discovered Uranus in 1781. Later, in the 1800s, astronomers noticed something strange. Uranus wasn't moving exactly as expected. They were puzzled because Isaac Newton's laws of gravity seemed to work perfectly for all the other planets. Then came Urbain Le Verrier. He had an idea. What if there was another planet even farther out than Uranus, and its gravity was pulling on Uranus? He did a lot of math to figure out where this planet would have to be and how big it would need to be to explain Uranus's strange orbit. His calculations made the orbit of Uranus make sense. Le Verrier sent his predictions to an astronomer named Johann Gottfried Galle at the Berlin Observatory. On September 23, 1846, just one night after getting Le Verrier's information, Galle looked through his telescope and saw a star that wasn't supposed to be there. That star turned out to be the planet Neptune. This was a huge moment because it was the first time a planet was predicted using math before anyone had ever seen it. Le Verrier became famous. Later on, Pluto was also discovered using similar methods. Around the 1840s, Le Verrier started looking at the orbits of all the planets. He noticed that while most planets follow Newton's laws, Mercury's orbit was a little bit off. For a long time, since the 1600s, people had occasionally seen small black dots moving across the face of the Sun. With the telescopes they had back then, some thought these might be a planet even closer to the Sun than Mercury. They even gave it a name, Vulcan. We know now that those black dots were actually sunspots. But Le Verrier, who had already successfully predicted Neptune, thought, could Vulcan be real after all? Just like the strange orbit of Uranus led him to predict Neptune, the slightly off orbit of Mercury suggested to him that there might be another planet influencing it. Based on his calculations of Mercury's orbital wobble, Le Verrier even estimated that Vulcan might orbit the Sun at a distance of around 19 million kilometers. Since people had reported seeing these black dots, which could potentially align with such an orbit, it seemed like there was a possibility. Plus, it was really hard to see anything so close to the Sun because of its bright light, making a direct observation challenging, much like how Neptune was initially just a mathematical prediction before being visually confirmed. Le Verrier suggested that the best way to spot Vulcan would be during a solar eclipse, when the moon blocks the Sun. At that time, you might be able to see a small planet moving near the edge of the eclipse. Over the years, there were many reports of people seeing Vulcan during eclipses, but most of these turned out to be mistakes or misinterpretations. Still, the question remained, what was causing Mercury's orbit to be slightly different from what Newton's laws predicted? Then, Albert Einstein came along with his general theory of relativity. This theory explained that gravity isn't just a force pulling things together, but it's also about how massive objects warp or curve the fabric of space and time around them. Einstein realized that because Mercury is so close to the very massive Sun, this warping of space-time has a bigger effect on its orbit. Using his new theory, Einstein made a small adjustment to Newton's laws, and suddenly, the orbit of Mercury was perfectly explained, without needing the planet Vulcan. And that's how the 200-year-old idea of Vulcan faded away. It shows us that in science, we're always learning and willing to change our understanding when new evidence or better theories come along. We accept the facts, even if it means letting go of old ideas.